Hello everyone, welcome to From the Star Wars Home Video Library. I'm your host Nathan P. Butler, and this is a new series, a companion to From the Star Wars Library that looks at all the Star Wars comics and novels in publication order, which will be looking at instead Star Wars on home video. We're predominantly going to be looking at the Blu-ray, DVD, and VHS versions of the Star Wars films and the Star Wars spin-offs as they've been released over time. However, we're not necessarily going to look at it in chronological order. We'll do it more in sort of a logical order than that. And we are not necessarily going to be hitting things other than those media, but we will be from time to time bringing in some oddball items, such as the CEDs, a particular Laserdisc set, and that sort of thing. This is something I've started collecting fairly recently, but which I've managed to collect fairly quickly, actually, by spending a little bit of money and spending some time on eBay. Now, as a basic premise here, we should get something out of the way. The idea that Star Wars, when it comes to home video releases, is prone to double dipping, as the phrase goes. Multiple purchases of basically the same thing, with only slight alterations to get hardcore fanboys, like me, to buy them all over again. And this is true. Take, for instance, the case of the Blu-rays. Now, as of the time I'm recording this, we're about 2 months away from another Blu-ray Star Wars release, a Blu-ray DVD combo pack version of each of the two trilogies. But even with the initial release of the Star Wars films on Blu-ray, we got the complete saga, right? 9 discs, 3 for each trilogy and 3 with bonus materials. But the same day they released this, they released these. A 3-disc set for each trilogy with none of the 3 bonus discs. All on the same day, hardcore collectors picked up all of them. So we wound up spending a lot more than just what it would cost to get the films. We got the films twice, with just different packaging, basically. But that's not the worst case of this. Take something like Star Wars on DVD. Let's say you want to watch the classic trilogy. Well, how do you want to watch it? Do you want to watch it on that 2004 set that had the 4 discs, the bonus materials, including Empire of Dreams? If so, how is that you want to watch it again? Are you wanting to watch it widescreen? Or perhaps full screen is the way to go? But wait, only 1 year later, we need to put them out again. Maybe people didn't want that bonus disc. Maybe they just want the 3 films and a slightly cheaper price tag. How about 2 more releases, widescreen and full screen of the classic trilogy? But no, wait, people are actually clamoring for the original edition, not the altered special edition version found on the DVD. And I do mean altered special edition as in special edition, then altered again. Well, maybe you want to get those originals, so you're going to buy the DVDs again with that bonus disc with the unaltered versions. Well, how are you going to do that? You're going to get it at Best Buy and get it in the collector's tin? You're going to pick up the individual gold widescreen editions? Or maybe you're going to go through and pick up the blue full screen editions instead. Oh, no, wait, crap, I missed it in 2005 and 2006, but I want to get them as a box set, and I don't have the collector's tin from Best Buy, so why don't I just pick up the 2008 set that also includes the same materials pretty much all over again. Star Wars does not double dip. Star Wars triple dips, quadruple dips, over and over. It gets to a point where the Star Wars Home Video Library has a lot of materials that are somewhat redundant, which a collector will find interesting, which some will find insane. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This area here behind me, these shelves, that's prequel trilogy and some other stuff. The stuff that I just showed you is actually off of that shelf. Beneath that, more Star Wars live-action films and the Ewok telemovies, Ewok cartoons, droids cartoons. Beneath that, Clone Wars all the way up to some documentaries, and there's even more stuff on a shelf underneath. That, though, isn't all. You also have some of the sets that are so big, they really need to just sit on top of everything else. Lots and lots of Star Wars home video releases with very subtle content differences. That is what this show is all about. Talking about those individual releases and what makes them unique or not, as the case may be. In this episode, our premiere, we look at something a little odd, something that is not DVD, Blu-ray, or VHS. A lot of people would tell you that the first time Star Wars was ever released for home video style consumption to watch in your home was this. Or maybe the Betamax version of it, the Video Rental Library edition of A New Hope. They would be wrong. Instead, the first time that Star Wars could be seen in the home was on film strips namely Super 8 or 8mm film strips. Super 8 is just 8mm film strips where the sprockets, little holes, are a little bit smaller, so there's a little bit wider picture to it. A company named Kin Films actually started releasing Star Wars on this form of home media as early as 1977. This was the very first piece of Star Wars home media. It's just selected scenes, does not run very long. Okay, we're talking about 8 minutes, give or take here, and it only has a little bit. We've got a brief clip of Luke getting his lightsaber. There's no sound. It's black and white. Shows little subtitles to go along with it to tell you what the heck is going on. Then it has the very end of the escape from the Death Star, all the way up through the TIE Fighter battle where they're in the gun wells of the Millennium Falcon. Not an entire version of the film here, but the very first Star Wars home media release. And when I say film strip, I mean film strip. You have to run this through a film strip projector. Now, Kin Films put out several of these. This was the first. No sound in black and white. They eventually put out a color version and added sound to it, but still not much in the way of scenes, just those brief little bits. Now, in the same year, Kin Films had a rare opportunity. They took their license for the Star Wars materials and did what they could to give us a chance to see Star Wars A New Hope in our home. Of course, at the time, the A New Hope subtitle wasn't on it. See, these are the smaller of the 8mm or Super 8 film strips. There are larger ones that run about 16, 17 minutes. What they did was put out 2 volumes of 17 minutes approximately each. And those 2, when ran back to back, gave us a first half and second half of an extremely edited down version of A New Hope that ran about 35 minutes in length. You might be saying, how on earth are they going to tell the story of A New Hope in that short amount of time? The answer is simple. Lots and lots of stuff got cut. One of the first things that got cut was the opening crawl, and we get it in a way that is narrated very similarly to the opening of the Clone Wars, where we basically have a narrator telling us what is going on, as opposed to it being us reading it off of the screen. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of clips here to elaborate on this whole idea of the 8mm version, or the Super 8 version of Star Wars that was so edited down. And I want to give credit where it's due. I've been given the permission to show some clips here from a fan project by a guy by the name, or going by the name of Puggo Jar Jar's Yoda. This fan, Puggo, has done a great job of capturing 8mm and 16mm versions of Star Wars from these early home video releases, and has sort of used them as an archival tool to keep Star Wars' earliest history on film alive. It's not something that is available for regular download. You really kind of have to just know a fan who happens to have one. It's sort of passed along that way as opposed to being passed along through simple downloads, but I'm sure you could find it somewhere if you just look it up. This one is known as the Puggo Edition, the 8mm version. He also has one called Puggo Grande and Puggo Strikes Back, which are the 16mm transfers of A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back. But I want you to check this out. First, a very quick clip here from the beginning of the 8mm version to give you a sense of how they managed to compress this down. This is what you get instead of an opening crawl in the 8mm version, the to-reel version of A New Hope.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. It is a period of civil war. Rebel spaceships striking from a hidden base have won their first victory against the evil Galactic Empire. Pursued by the Empire's sinister agents, Princess Leia races home with stolen plans that can save her people and restore freedom to the galaxy.
Now, being someone who's a fan of the Clone Wars and is on Republic Forces Radio Network talking about the Clone Wars, I find it really cool how close that mirrors something like what we get at the beginning of, say, the Clone Wars film, like this.
Galaxy divided. Striking swiftly after the Battle of Geonosis, Count Dooku's droid army has seized control of the major hyperspace lanes, separating the Republic from the majority of its clone army. With few clones available, the Jedi generals cannot gain a foothold in the Outer Rim as more and more planets choose to join Dooku's separatists. While the Jedi are occupied fighting a war, no one is left to keep the peace. Chaos and crime spread, and the innocent become victims in a lawless galaxy. Crime Lord Jabba the Hutt's son has been kidnapped by a rival band of pirates. Desperate to save his son, Jabba puts out a call for help. A call the Jedi are cautious to answer.
It's not exactly the same, right? But very, very close in concept. I love that fact. Also, I want to show you here a little bit about this editing process. Understand that this edits down the film greatly. We're dealing with something where, for instance, the Battle of Yavin is only about 4 minutes long, but that's 4 minutes out of about 35, so that's a pretty substantial chunk. And that's actually only a little bit less than, I think, half the length of what it is in the regular version of the film. I think a really good example, though, of the cutting the flab angle here to try to just tell the story, assume that you've seen it before and you're just wanting your memory refreshed and you just want to enjoy it at home, let's just get it out there fast, fast, fast. I think the best example of that approach is probably the scene in which Obi-Wan basically asks Luke to go with him to Alderaan. Luke refuses based on needing to stay there with his aunt and uncle, and Obi-Wan gives him the quasi-guilt trip of, you must do what you feel is right, of course, right? This is how the scene plays out in the regular theatrical version and later versions of A New Hope.
You must learn the ways of the Force if you're to come with me to Alderaan.
Alderaan? I'm not going to Alderaan. I've got to get home. It's late. I'm in port as it is.
I need your help, Luke. She needs your help. I'm getting too old for this sort of thing.
I can't get involved. I've got work to do. It's not that I like the Empire. I hate it, but there's nothing I can do about it right now. It's such a long way from here.
That's your uncle talking.
Boy, my uncle. How am I ever going to explain this?
Learn about the Force, Luke.
Look, I can take you as far as Anchorhead. You can get a transport there to Mos Eisley or wherever you're going.
You must do what you feel is right, of course.
Very familiar to all of us, right? Something we could probably recite at this point. This is how it was edited down for that Ken Films 2-reel 8mm version.
You must learn the ways of the Force if you're to come with me to Alderaan.
Alderaan?
You must do what you feel is right, of course.
Wow. I mean, talk about whiplash here. But that's kind of how the entire thing runs. They're able to encapsulate the story, but a lot of things get cut along the way. And personally, I think that it is really, really cool that in 1977, if you had a Super 8 film projector, you could actually see Star Wars in an abbreviated form, granted, in your home years before you could ever get it on VHS or Betamax, which won't be around until after The Empire Strikes Back is already in theaters. So, very, very cool stuff. I urge you to check out anything you can of any 8mm footage. I know there was some of the black and white footage was up on YouTube at one point to check out, but it makes for an interesting collectible. Will I ever get a chance to watch this in my home on a projector? No, but it's a cool collectible if you are a Star Wars home video collector, even if it does wind up being essentially useless except for a nice display piece. With that, we will wrap up this episode. Next time, we take a look at the 16mm version of Star Wars that was sort of available for home viewing back in the 1970s. That one's a bit more of a gray area. Thank you for watching, and may the Force be with the home video viewers.